Veterans, right turn.
Good morning, everybody. My name is John Paynon, and I'm Chairman of Northumberland County Council. On behalf of the Council, I'd like to welcome you all here today. Today we commemorate 110 years since the commencement of the Battle of the Somme, one of the largest and bloodiest battles of the First World War. The opening day of the attack on 1st of July 1916 saw the British Army sustain 57,000 casualties, the bloodiest day in the history. Northumberland's link to the Battle of Somme is rooted in Northumberland Fusiliers, which was the second largest infantry regiment in the entire British Army in World War I. The Northumberland Fusiliers played a massive role in the Battle of the Somme between July and November 2016. As the second largest infantry regiment in the British Army, they committed 24 battalions to the campaign. The regiment suffered over 16,000 casualties, with heavy losses on this day 110 years ago. As we gather today in quiet remembrance that 110 years ago, a generation of young men stepped out of the trenches. Many of our ancestors fought in the war and many sacrificed their lives. Today, Northumbria Veterans Network, together with Northumberland County Council, come together to commemorate the commitment of the war and to pay our respects to those who fought and those who give their lives. I have myself been to both France and Belgium to see the beautifully tranquil war graves, but I've also been to the site of the Somme and the horrific actions that happened there, and at least we forget. Thank you. I would like now to introduce Major Chester Potts.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is a momentous day. It was a momentous day for the British Army. It was the biggest disaster ever to befall the British Army in its entire history. The casualty rate was horrendous, as you'll find out. That morning at 07:28, tunnellers had dug tunnels underneath the German lines and blown two massive saps in the area of operations of the Northumberland Fusiliers, one at Lochnagar Crater and one at Y Sap. And at 07:30 hours, the troops advanced. There were 9 Northumberland Fusilier battalions involved in that initial attack. The 16th Commercials, their objective was the Leipzig Redoubt towards Thiepval. They sustained 350 casualties. The 20th Battalion, 1st Tyneside Scottish, their objective was the Schwaben-Ho and Canton-Maison, and they sustained 631 casualties. The 21st Battalion, 478 casualties. The 22nd Battalion, 539 casualties. The 23rd Battalion, 640 casualties. The 24th Battalion, 620 casualties. The 25th Battalion, 500 casualties. The 26th, 490. And the 27th, 539 casualties. A massive attrition rate on that first day. Let me just mention a few words about the 16th Battalion, the Commercial Battalion. Their objective was to advance as a corps assault wave to capture the German frontline trenches and press on to the Leipzig Redoubt towards south of Thiepval. The Newcastle Commercials had a notable sportsman's company consisting of local athletes. On the morning of the attack, a group of these men, including the prominent local footballers Tommy Goodwill, who played for Newcastle United, and Dan Dunglison, famously went over the top into the gunfire after kicking a football ahead into no man's land. Both men were killed during the advance. Platoon losses: entire subunits were decimated. For example, number 5 platoon of B Company, 31 out of 42 men were killed or wounded. In 6 platoon, 21 out of 40 men became casualties within the opening minutes. The Tyneside Scottish Brigade comprised of 4 Northumberland Fusilier battalions, and this brigade attacked near the village of La Boisselle. And due to orders forcing them to march over a mile in open view, they suffered severe losses. Private Elliott, a survivor of the advance, recalled seeing Piper Fife fall. He was riddled with bullets, writhing and screaming. Survivors found themselves scrambling over the dead and dying as wave after wave was cut down. The slaughter was so immense that all 4 battalion commanders of the Tyneside Scottish were killed in the opening hours. The Tyneside Irish Brigade followed on from the Tyneside Scottish. Tommy McKinno with the 4th Tyneside Irish Battalion, 4th Tyneside Irish, 27th Battalion, said as follows: "We were ordered to advance in extended order with our bayonets fixed. We walked over the top of the ridge as if we were on a parade back in the town in Newcastle. The sun was shining, and we honestly believed we were going to just walk and take over the German trenches without a fight. The moment our line showed over the crest, the world turned into a sheet of lead. It was a marvellous piece of German machine gun work. They just swept the ridge from left to right. I heard the bullets zapping past my ears and hitting the ground with sharp cracks. Men started to spin round and fall around me. You'd hear a sharp cry, and a lad you'd known for years would drop. We were told to keep our lines, but the lines were disappearing. The machine guns were cutting us down like grass. I saw one of our officers, a grand fellow, waving his walking stick to urge us forward, and the next second he just crumpled into a heap. We hadn't even reached our own front line trenches yet, and already the ground was carpeted with green uniforms. No man's land was just a boiling pot of dust, smoke, and flying metal. There was no getting forward. I dived into a shallow shell hole with 2 other lads. The noise was deafening. You couldn't hear yourself think. We lay there for hours, flat on our stomachs, pressed into the dirt, listening to the wounded crying out for water and their mothers. It was complete slaughter. That night, German patrols came out and finished off the wounded lying on the ground and caught up on the barbed wire. The fighting on the Somme would last until the 18th of November. 150,000 men died, a total of 400,000 casualties for the gain of just 7 miles. In 1918, the German spring offensive, much of that ground would be retaken. 10 years ago, exactly on July the 1st at 07:30, the Fusiliers returned to the scene of that carnage and held service. A very moving service at that. Even the local residents of that tiny village came down in their dressing gowns at that early hour in the morning to pay their respects. It is something that the Fusiliers will never ever forget. And it's almost a piece of ground that belongs to Northumberland and the North East. 72,000 men still lie out there. When you walk on that ground, you are walking on their bodies, quite literally. They are remembered at the Tietval Memorial. They left us a legacy of democracy and freedom. That should never be forgotten.
they shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Good morning. I'm Glenn Sanderson, leader of Northumberland County Council. Thank you to all of you that have come, and thank you to everyone who's taken an interest in what is a hugely significant and important time to remember. I was lucky enough to go to a little village called La Boiselle, which has been mentioned, a few years ago, and it was the most peaceful place. A little valley, birds were singing. It was calm and quiet. And it is unbelievable, actually, to go there and consider what actually happened there 110 years ago. Some 2 hours ago, the Northumberland Fusiliers, for it is they that we particularly remember as a county council, would be thinking about their homes in Northumberland, Wooler, Cornhill, Morpeth, Alnwick, Berwick, and probably about their family and friends. And then they would go over the top. And they were told to walk or march towards the German lines at this little village in La Boiselle of 35 houses. And they were told to carry on whatever happened. And as you know, the bombardment that was due to have destroyed the trenches and destroyed the machine guns and destroy all of the barbed wire had not achieved its goal. So these men walked to their death or serious injury. And so 2 hours later, where we are now, at 9:30, hundreds were dead. And because of that link with Northumberland Fusiliers, because of the link of their homes, and because of all the work that my wonderful people at the County Council have done in tracing memories, recollections, relatives of those people who were involved in that battle, we see today that it is just as important and just as relevant as it was then, today, to remember those Northumbrians like us, who came from different backgrounds and different places in Northumberland, to do their duty and to die or be seriously injured, to make their mark, to do their bit, to play their part in making sure that they stood for democracy and freedom. So it's only right that we've held this ceremony today, and I hope very much in another 10 years we will hold the same ceremony to remember those people, those families, those homes, those little villages, those settlements, of all the people that were involved and all the people that suffered because of that awful first day of the Battle of the Somme. Thank you again for coming.